Welcome back, college football fans and Hawkeye fans, to the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog, the channel where we got you covered from all areas of college football across the entire college football landscape. I'm your usual host, Blair Parks, and as promised, if you did tune in to last week's episode, what I've got on tap for you today is I will be sharing with you who I believe heading into the regular season is this year's most overrated, overhyped, and overvalued team in the 2026 college football season. So before I say anything else, it's great to be back with you, and I appreciate all of your time, your attention, your support, and everything that you have done for the channel. But please, I need your help. I want to find more college football fans just like you. So please, whatever you could do to help the channel grow, please, it would be much appreciated. Like, share, subscribe, rate, and comment below. I always ask for, welcome, and encourage your comments. But with today's episode, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be getting a lot of comments, and most of them are probably going to be a little negative, but hey, that's just the way it is. All right? So, last year, this is only the second year that I've done this. Last year, if you recall, I did share with you here on the program that 2025's most overrated, overhyped, and overvalued team was the Texas Longhorns, and also their quarterback, Arch Manning, who was already basically named the preseason Heisman Trophy winner, the odds-on betting favorite. Also, they anointed him the number one overall pick, and basically saying Texas was going to win not only the SEC title, but also the Natty as well. But I told all of you to pump the brakes, just stop for a second and think. And I told you all, especially you Texas fans, that Texas would go 9-3, missed the college football playoff, and I told you those losses would be at Florida, Georgia, and also the third loss, at Ohio State. And guess what? Those were the three losses that they had. So, and I got a lot of scrutiny, a lot of negativity from Longhorn fans, everything from basically do yourself a favor, cancel the channel, you don't know what the hell you're talking about, just go ahead, put yourself out of your misery. But I hate to tell you, I'm sorry that I was right, all right? And when it comes down to this, I'm not sitting here saying because I'm a Hawkeye fan that I know best, and I'm not, all right? I expect a general, your kind of normal season for the Hawkeyes, 7-5, 8-4, so nothing great, all right? So as always, I know that I am going to offend and make some fans of the program who I believe is the most overrated, overhyped, and overvalued. I know I'm going to rub some of you the wrong way, and I want to hear from you. So comment below, but please, just make it a well-thought-of statement and reason why you either agree or disagree. Don't simply say, a Hawkeye fan, he knows what he's talking about, blah, blah, blah. Make it actually a well-thought-of thought, is all I could say. Because if you don't, if you're going to be that troll and just talk, all you're going to do is make the rest of your fan base look bad, all right? So, without further ado, who do I believe is this year's most overrated, overhyped, and overvalued team heading into the regular season? After much debate and research, and quite frankly, I hope I'm wrong about this, but I've got to roll with the Ole Miss Rebels, all right? So hear me out. Before you go ahead and shut this down or go ahead and give me all the hate mail and the hate speech, just hear me out. And once again, I want to be incorrect, all right? Because two of my coworkers are big Ole Miss fans. So I want to give a shout out to my boy Brett and my girl Tori. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't know. I just got one of those feelings. And as I stated in the opening of this episode, some of this comes from research. Some of it also just comes from that gut feeling, or my spidey senses are up. But I will share with you the three main factors why I believe last year's success will not and cannot be duplicated or replicated. All right? So sometimes before you move forward, you have to move backwards. So let's go ahead and do a quick recap of Ole Miss's 2025 season, which it was a season to remember down there in Oxford. Overall, Ole Miss went 13-2. They did make the college football playoff. They made a deep run all the way to the semifinals, losing in a very, very close contest under, 2 minutes to go against national title runner-up Miami. But Ole Miss did go 11-1 in the regular season. But so quite arguably, maybe the best season in their program's history. Absolutely one of the best of all time, but could have maybe been the best year ever down there at Ole Miss. So, and like I said, it was really a magical run to the CFB semifinals, because it was really something that was kind of like written for Hollywood script, like it was a Cinderella. Like, you can't really even write this. It just ended up, the stars aligned, the planets aligned, and Ole Miss was right there to take advantage of it. All right? So, out of nowhere, I mean, the biggest story was out of nowhere, Division II QB transfer from Ferris State, Trinidad Chambliss, a quarterback coming in that very, very few of us knew anything about. Really, he did this Cinderella ascent up to the backup quarterback for the Rebels last year. Their starting quarterback went down early with injury. He basically takes over, and then it's just history from there out. I mean, the guy was just a stud. All right, this guy performed at the highest of all levels. And like I said, this is something like Kurt Warner. It's really a good correlation to make, somebody completely unknown that just takes his team to uncharted waters. And that's really what Trinidad Chambliss did. And the good news for Ole Miss fans and the program is he is back for one more season as the full-time starter beginning in week 1. All right? So, and the other thing about last season, that whether you love him or you hate him, there's no in between. It was a very successful yet much embattled and well-traveled coach, Lane Kiffin, basically bolted on the eve of the college football playoffs to Baton Rouge to take the open position as the new coach for the LSU Tigers. So, I mean, Lane Kiffin really did finally deliver his promise to bring someone to the precipice of college football history. But like the Lane train does, eventually it's going to roll out of the station, and it definitely did. All right? But have no fear. So in the playoffs, defensive coordinator Pete Golding at the time was elevated not to an interim coach status, but a full head time coach. And the thing is, it was and is Pete Golding's first ever head coaching gig in Division I Power 4 conference football. So it was something that was uncharted water to Coach Golding as well, going from the DC to the head coach. And oh, by the way, I need to guide this team into the playoffs and see what we can do together. So it really, once again, everything lined up for them, and they did make that deep run under Pete Golding. So I already mentioned Trinidad Chambliss. He is a legit Heisman Trophy candidate and contender, and I think Ole Miss will most likely be a top 10 ranked team when the AP Top 25 comes out next week. I believe they were number 10 in the coaches poll, which came out a few days ago earlier this week. Several experts and media outlets have them pegged to return to the college football playoff this season. I mean, I think the SEC, the media picked them to finish third, and what I believe is going to be a very top-heavy and very competitive SEC conference. So there is big expectations from Ole Miss this season. They are returning a lot, but there are some things that are now gone and some other factors that are going to potentially affect either those expectations being met or them coming up a little bit short. All right? So let me now go ahead and share with you that I have 3 primary factors that I'll share with you right now as to why I believe it will not be replicated or duplicated last year's success. And I think Ole Miss will still have a very good season. I don't expect them to fall off a cliff. All right, all you Rebel fans, you're not going to be Florida State going from 13-1, 3 seasons ago, being snubbed in the 4-team college football playoff, and then going 2-10 the next season. That's not going to happen. You're still going to have a top 20 type season, but all of the publicity, all of the hype, I just don't think it's going to happen. So bear with me while I share with you my 3 primary factors to why I think Ole Miss will come up a little bit short. And please, comment below. I always welcome it. I invite it. Good, the bad, the ugly. But remember, without you, none of this is possible, and it is an absolute pleasure, me being here with you, sharing my love for all things college football on the weekly with my fellow college football brothers and sisters and fans from all aspects of life and throughout the country. All right? So, factoid number 1, the first factor why I believe Ole Miss will come up a little bit short as far as expectations is I got to start with the schedule. All right. This year's schedule, well, first of all, the SEC has now finally adopted a 9-game conference schedule. Welcome. Now everything is equal across the board when the Big 12, the Big 10, and the old Pac-12 have been doing this 9-game conference schedules for quite a while now. So it will be even more daunting and tasking, all right? Gone is that Week 12 or Week 11 matchup against Alabama State or Mercer or our Sisters of Mercy College, all right? Even if you end up playing a conference cellar dweller, which I think this season in the SEC, you're going to be looking at Arkansas, Mississippi State, and Kentucky probably in those roles. That is still going to give you a better data point than playing one of the teams that I aforementioned, okay? Playing a team of that caliber, okay, you have more benefit doing an inter-squad scrimmage, okay? So playing a cellar dweller still gives you a better data point and a better strength of schedule to play at least a fellow Power 4 conference team, okay? But this year's schedule is absolutely daunting for the Rebels. They've got games at Texas, at OU, and at Florida, and they host Georgia, LSU in the Lane Kiffin Bowl, and Missouri. And also in non-conference, they play in Week 1, they play a very, very solid Louisville team in Atlanta in a neutral site in Atlanta, Georgia, in the Mercedes-Benz Dome. But when you compare that to last year's schedule, and I just meant that schedule right there, all of those teams, maybe other than Florida and Missouri, are going to be ranked in the AP preseason top 25. It is going to be a challenge for the Rebels this year via that schedule, because let's compare that schedule to last year's schedule. I mean, let's start off last year when they went 11-1 in the regular season, which is impressive. You go 11-1, you deserve to be in the college football playoff. If you're a Power 4 conference team, you deserve to go. No matter who you play, you still did the heavy lifting and you took care of business. But let's start off last year with who Ole Miss didn't play. Let's start off in conference play. They did not play Alabama, did not play Texas, did not play Texas A&M or Vanderbilt. And in non-conference play, they did not play a fellow Power 4 conference team. So right there, the schedule, just in comparison, last season is just like Charmin soft. And it's going to get even more soft and even brittle when I share with you who they did play. All right? Here's the number. 27 and 47. 27 wins to 47 losses. That's the teams that they played in SEC conference play, other than the two best teams they played. They played Georgia, who did defeat them in Oxford, but they did pick up a really good win on the road against Oklahoma in Norman. But other than that, they played Arkansas, South Carolina, Mississippi State, Florida, and Kentucky, who went 27 and 47 combined. Now, all five of those teams I just mentioned, all five, they all went to the same bowl, the Toilet Bowl. None of those five teams went to the postseason, okay? Actually, is it six? 1, 2, 3, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 5. Yeah, so right there. I mean, they really didn't play anyone. And it's okay, SEC fans. I'm sorry, but every conference does have some bad teams, okay? And those teams that they played last year, they were bad. Just like there are some bad teams in the Big Ten, all right? It's okay to admit that. I mean, not every team is great, all right? So right there, I think because of the schedule difficulty this year, that's going to be a big factor that's going to hamper Ole Miss to not meet those expectations to get back to the college football playoff, all right? So let's go ahead and move into factor number 2, all right, actually, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and say something here. Before I move on, I almost forgot this. Now, you're thinking the teams I just mentioned that they're playing, right? Texas, Oklahoma, Florida, Missouri, Georgia, LSU, and Louisville. The thing is, yes, most of them will be ranked, but what do they all do? They all play physical on the lines of scrimmage, especially on the offensive line, and all of them do have legitimate running backs and running back rooms, because this is what Ole Miss did do last year. They finished 71st nationally against the run. I mean, that is not good, okay? So that tells you right there that Ole Miss won a lot of these games because they simply outscored people, which that's easy to do when you play the majority of the teams on their schedule, which was last year's situation, when the majority of teams you play are of lesser talent than you can get away with that. But when you play teams of equal or greater talent, you're going to have to play some defense. You can't simply outscore those better teams all the time. You can't, all right? So that really concerns me about 71st against the run. That is horrible, all right? The second main factor, why I think they will come up short and why I think they are overrated, overvalued, and overhyped, and this hurts to say, but I want you to hear me out before you jump to conclusions. I'm going to mention quarterback Trinidad Chambliss himself. I already said this guy is a stud. He is a playmaker. He is special. Hell, I love to see him in a Hawkeye uniform, okay? But unlike last year, his rise and ascent to stardom, basically out of nowhere, kind of like Roy Tin Cup McAvoy from the movie Tin Cup, when Kevin Costner played this down and out pro golfer, driving range golf pro, right? That this year, Trinidad Chambliss is not going to sneak up on anyone. Everybody now knows who he is, especially those teams that are lining up on the other side of the field from him. There's now a full year and full season of tape and film on, hey, his strengths and his weaknesses. So teams are going to be able to better game plan against him. All right. Now, yes, you can't shut a guy like this out. You can only really hope to contain him. He's going to make his plays. He's going to do certain things no matter what, but you just want to try to keep him in check the best you can. And I think teams now are going to be much better prepared for that. Because like I said, this is no longer a Cinderella story. Who is this guy basically coming in out of the crowd and putting on a jersey? All right. Now, the other thing, and I don't know this young man, I will never have that pleasure. And once again, I hope I'm wrong. But the expectations and the pressure are so much, both as a team and as an individual, in both internal and external, that I just don't know if he's going to be able to hold up. All right, it's going to be a lot more difficult and challenging for Trinidad Chambliss this season. And I hope I'm wrong. I don't want to see him, pull a complete 180, and that's not going to happen. He's too talented for that. He's got enough talent and pieces around him, but I just don't know if he's proven to be able, to rise above it. But we'll have to wait and see. All right? Now, the third factor I have for you, and this I think is the biggest factor. And any Ole Miss fan, when I share these three things with you, I mean, unless you want to be an absolute Homer Simpson, I think you're at least going to agree, yeah, there is some hesitations. We have those too, Blair. We're aware of them. You've identified them. So at least, hopefully, you can at least give me that. All right? That'll prove that you're a true fan, because that's what us true fans do. We can acknowledge and admit, hey, who we are, who we're not, but yet who we want to be. So I think any of these three factors will kind of put any Ole Miss fan a little bit on edge and maybe just kind of pucker up those cheeks a little bit. But this is the one I think is going to be the biggest deciding factor why Ole Miss will come up short. I'm going to go to coaching. All right. I don't know if anyone is completely sold on how can Coach Pete Golding hold up as the head man for an entire season. All right. Not only a new head coach. Yeah. Now, yes, I know he was there for 3 games last year in the college football playoff. I get that. But this team was already on a roll. I mean, make no mistake about it. Pete Golding did not get this team into the college football playoff. It was Lane Kiffin in his system, all right? So he has not really proven himself yet. And there's a lot to prove, all right? Not only do they have a new head coach, but they have multiple new coordinators as well. Lane Kiffin took a lot of not only the players, but a good amount of staff members with him to Baton Rouge for the LSU job. So can Pete Golding perform this entire season and stand and deliver at the highest level? I don't know. And here's why. When you look at former defensive coordinators turned head coaches, traditionally, the majority of them do not have sustained success as head coaches. They just don't. Why? Is because they are just too defensive-minded. Now, yes, some have in college football. If your name's not Kirby Smart, Bob Stoops, or Nick Saban, but Nick Saban was more or less a DC at the NFL level. But other than that, they just seem to burn out because in the front of their minds, they still believe that defense is the most important facet of the game when you have to be sound in all three phases: offense, defense, and special teams. All right. Yes, defense is important, but still, nobody ever won a game when it was 0-0. Okay. You have to score points to win. And last year, this team did because of Lane Kiffin and his coordinators. All right. I already shared with you 71st in rush defense. That's putrid. Okay. There's 70 teams better than you. All right. So I just, and I know maybe you're of that thought that you think, oh, defense wins championships. I'm sorry, I disagree, respectively, of course, but defense will keep you from losing. You have to score points to win. All right. Yes, sometimes defense can directly give you points on a pick six or a scoop six. Yes. But yeah, they can also set up your offense in good position and opportunities to get points. But still, offense and special teams, those are what win games, okay? Good defense will absolutely beat teams of lower talent, kind of like what I already mentioned. But of equal or greater talent than you have to be sound in all three phases. And I just don't put a lot of stock into DC's turned head coach. I just don't. All right. Because I'm a historian of the game, I'm a student of history. And like I just stated, the majority of DC's turned head coaches in college football, it just does not pan out well for them because they can't get out of their own ways, out of their own mind. All right. So I really have big time doubts. I think any Ole Miss fan does and should. What is this coaching staff going to do as an encore from what we were used to the last few seasons down in Oxford? All right. So that's the three primary factors why I believe Ole Miss is entering this season being overrated, overvalued, and overhyped. All right. So let me now share with you how my record projection for the 2026 season for Ole Miss, just like what I did for Texas last year when I told you all they would go 9-3, miss the playoff, that Arch Manning would not win the Heisman. He wouldn't even be a finalist. And I told you Texas won't hoist the SEC title or the Natty. Hell, they won't even make the SEC title game. And some of you completely just went off the Richter scale on me. All right? So as of right now, I'm batting 1,000. Just remember that. Okay? So how do I see their season playing out? All right? So I do have them going 9-3. I think they will have losses at Texas and at Oklahoma. Now, I think they will have a big win against Georgia. I think that'll kind of be their statement victory of the season. I do think they will knock off and upset Georgia, and I think they will absolutely win the Lane Kiffin Bowl when LSU visits Oxford early in the season. But their third loss, this is the one that I think that will be their undoing, all right? And I just said I'm a student of history. And what's the one thing that we all know about history, ladies and gentlemen? It always repeats itself. And I think their third loss will come against Florida at the Swamp, just like it did last year for Texas, the loss that ultimately kept them out of the college football playoff field because Florida finished up going 4-8. Now, I believe this year's Florida team will be improved. I think John Summerall is a solid hire for the Gators. I don't think they're going to reverse that record. They're not going to go 8-4. I see them 6-6, maybe 7-5. But I think that still will be a bad loss. And I think if they finish 9-3 against some other SEC teams, especially teams that maybe defeated them head to head, well, hey, we've got 2 or 3 teams at 9-3. What's the common denominator? Oh, yeah, common opponent, but we have only room for 1 or 2 of them. That's why I think Ole Miss will be left out. All right, I do. I don't see them getting in. Because if you've watched previous episodes of mine here, yes, big wins do matter, but bad losses should always carry more weight than a good victory. They shouldn't, they're not 50-50. A bad loss definitely means a lot more. Because quite frankly, if you are a legitimate college football playoff team at least in the current 12-team format, you don't lose games like that. You don't. Now, let's say last year Texas, maybe that was their only loss was at Florida. Yeah, they still deserve to get in. If that was maybe their second loss and they go 10-2, they're probably still in. But I think at that point you're going to be a lower seed, probably an 8 or a 9. You probably shouldn't be a high seed if you lose, if you have a bad loss on your resume like that. But I think that Florida loss is going to be their undoing. Now, Ole Miss fans right now are screaming, hey, that Florida team is crap, right? They're bantha fodder, all right, from Star Wars. But listen, it's not necessarily because I think Florida is a better team, right? But what this game is an absolute classic trap game. Because the week before they travel down to Gainesville, guess what? That is the home game against Lane Kiffin and LSU. So that'll be an emotional high. They will put everything on the line for that game. I think they will get it done, as I said. And then the very next week, you got to come back down and play at Florida, a tough place to play. I think it just sets up in a bad spot for Ole Miss. That's why. Okay? And plus, I believe the last time they went to the Swamp, 2 seasons ago, getting upset by Florida that year too, maybe also kept Ole Miss out of the college football playoff. So history does repeat itself. All right. So I got them going 9-3, but potentially looking at a fourth loss if they can't defeat Georgia and Missouri too. I'm not going to count out Mizzou. I mean, we don't know what the health status and strength of Ahmed Hardy's going to be. I mean, he's been cleared for practice coming off of that gunshot wound. So we don't know if he'll play at all and what capacity. Will it be 70%, 80%? And I'm worried because what I mentioned about their run defense last year of Ole Miss. But even if Ahmed Hardy doesn't play, the number 2 running back, Jamal Roberts, could be starting at the majority of Power 4 teams right now. I mean, Mizzou having that 1-2 punch, I mean, that gives them a legitimate puncher's chance if that defense doesn't shore up. And I know in the offseason, via the portal, Ole Miss did bring in a couple of high-profile linebackers to shore up that defensive front 7. So I don't think it can get any worse, but it has to improve. And we'll see if it does, all right? So 9-3 officially, but I could see them having a fourth loss on their record when push comes to shove. But 9-3, that's what I'm rolling with. Losses at Florida, at Texas, and at Oklahoma. All right. And once again, Ole Miss fans, I'm not trying to piss on your sunshine, okay? I'm just a guy sharing with you some of my takes, my perspective, but also some facts. I mean, that schedule difficulty, that's a fact. The coaching issues, that's a fact too. I mean, we don't know. Nobody knows exactly how cool this cat is on the sideline. Is he going to be like a cucumber, or is he going to be something completely off the wall when what hits the fan? Because that's going to be a question of when, not if, especially in that SEC schedule that they have. All right? So Ole Miss fans, I want to hear from you. Let me know what you think. Do you agree, disagree, why or why not? Hit up that comment section below. I promise you I will get back to each and every one of you much sooner than later via those comments. But let's just act like adults with those comments. And once again, if you want to be that troll, go ahead, all right? I don't have any pride issues left, all right? My wife has done her job well, okay? But still, if you're going to get back to me, it's welcomed. I want you to participate, but just put together a well-thought, question or argument before you just post, okay? All right, well, that's it for this week's episode. As far as who I think is the most overrated, overvalued, and overhyped team of 2026, please let me know, and I appreciate everything that you have done and will do for the channel. I will be back next week. Will be my big episode of preseason kickoff, because I will be sharing with you who I have making the college football playoff field for 2026. So you definitely don't want to miss that one. So until next week, enjoy the rest of your week, your weekend. Be safe, be responsible, and as always, go Hawks. And I'll see you soon on the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog. Adios.